Wanted to take a look at TLT stock, which of course is the ETF versus U.S. Treasury bonds, the longer dated 20 and 30. Wanted to break down what's going on. TLT stock, of course, is shot a little bit higher. There's a lot of transitioning going on with the markets right now. Oil prices, have you seen them dropping about 10% in 3 days? This continues to tell me that the economy is slowing down and that the markets are paying attention. The broader stock market is not necessarily selling off, but I do believe we're probably capped from there. So what is the downside risk to my position on TLT stock, and will I add in more to my TLT stock? I wanted to break that down because as we transition with the Federal Reserve meeting next week, very likely they leave interest rates where they are. I don't believe that they move prior to the U.S. presidential election. Inflation numbers are still sticky, but the economy is slowing down, and the sell-off that we saw, the 10% drop in oil prices over the past 3 days with about a 5% drop today, that's telling that this economy is slowing down. Demand isn't there for oil. Let's jump in and we'll break down TLT stock. Here's a good look at oil. And as you can see, it was trading about 80.50 going into the weekend. The past 3 days selling off. This is the 4-hour bar chart. Yeah, the 4-hour bar chart on oil. And WTI, Western Texas. This, as I said, for me, says that the market, those savvy players, are seeing the numbers outside of what the broader stock market is staring at. Something like this should be warning bells to anybody sitting there saying, let's buy the stock market. It's going to keep going higher. It's going to keep going higher. Man, this economy is adjusting, and this is definitely proof of that. Now, I actually did videos back in January and May, just 1 month ago, where I talked about in January, I said, listen, XLE stock, which is the ETF for the energy sector and oil, in January, I said, buy then, because the information we had at that point was that we'd still see some upside movement. XLE stock and oil went higher. But then just last month, in May, I said, get out, sell it. This thing's going to collapse. Here we go. We can see what's happening here. Moving forward, this is actually the 20-year, 10-year, and 30-year. The 20 years the bar chart, the sort of orangish is the 10-year, and the 30-year is the turquoise. Interest rates are starting to move lower. There is sort of a twofold thing going on here. First, the economy is slowing down. Savvy participants are taking notice. They're getting out. The Federal Reserve will lower interest rates at some point, but the economy is probably going to slow faster than the Federal Reserve would hope for. But I'm not necessarily calling for a recession. I've said this many times, that I don't believe that there will be a recession. What I believe is that we'll probably see a slowdown in growth to more normalized levels. That means all stocks need to adjust. Now, for TLT stock, how that works, TLT trades off the 20 and the 30. If we start to see aggressive selling in the stock market, there's a flight to quality. When we see a sell-off in stocks, investors will rush into the safe haven of the U.S. 10-year Treasury or Treasury Yields in general, buying up price, pushing yield downward, the inverse relationship. We kind of saw it the first 2 days of this week. The stock market it sold off initially on Friday, rallied back up, sold off again on Monday, rallied back up. Now, today, Tuesday, flat as a board for the close. But I expect we'll probably see more selling in the stock market, and it might start off as early as tomorrow morning. Going in Friday, non-farm payrolls, I think that's going to be an ugly number for the stock market. There will be a flight to quality into Treasury bonds. Pushing up price, yield falls downward. My TLT stock continues to improve in profits. That's how I'm taking this. We will see the Federal Reserve move when they're able to, and I still don't think they're going to be able to do that until after the November election. They do have a 2-day meeting on the 6th and 7th, Wednesday and Thursday of November. They also have a 2-day meeting next week where we expect that they'll probably just keep things where they are, but they may have something in the statement which could rock the markets. We'll see how that plays out. In the meantime, economic data points are going to continue to come in slightly softer than expected. Slightly softer than expected, continually. And eventually, the broader stock market's going to catch on. I've said this for over a year now that I believe the fall of this year, September, October, November, December, things are going to get ugly. Probably see a lot more sideways to downward movement in the stock market going through the rest of the summer. Not going to see a whole bunch of big moves then. Here's a look at the TLT stock itself, and as you can see, it's shooting up to 92.5 for in today's trading session. We did see a drop last week, and this is where I really wanted to kind of talk about downside risks to TLT stock, the long position. I just don't see any really at this point, especially for my trade. Now, I bought in on the most recent move just back at the end of April, 87.5, 88.5 range. Did pick up a small portion at 90 before it popped up. It's fallen back down, popped back up again, and I don't feel as if there's anything that will push the market back down to the 87.5 level. If so, I have buy orders all the way down. Because the eventuality is basically this: the Federal Reserve does get forced to raise interest or lower interest rates. But it's one of those situations where be careful what you ask for. I don't expect it. We're going to see inflation numbers falling as fast as the Federal Reserve wants because of what the Federal Reserve has done. I expect just the opposite. The Federal Reserve will have restricted economic activity, and because of that, interest rates will shift because of the drop in inflation. So it's more of an effect, not the cause. And I do expect that we will see that economic data kind of moving. Here is a bigger look at the iShares. This is kind of the past couple days. This is a 4-year sort of close-up look. We did drop down to about 88.5, and then we're all the way up to 92.5, which is about 5% move in just the past couple days. This is the same period of time as the drop in oil prices, which I found really interesting. Oil is reacting to less demand, too much supply. We'll see this play out with TLT stock. We're going to see this play out in the stock market. Eventually, savvy investors are just going to start hitting the sell button on the stock market once we continue to get those information, those data points where the economy is probably slowing down faster than the rate of inflation, and the Federal Reserve does have to move, but to protect the economy, not to get it going again because inflation's in check. So from a downside perspective, I don't believe we see TLT stock dropping back down to the 87.50. Probably we don't see sub 90 anytime soon, moving over through the course of the summer. But then the Federal Reserve will have their ability to move starting in November. My thinking, too late. The economy has contracted too much. The Federal Reserve will be in a position where they have to lower interest rates to a more accommodative stance rapidly, which means my TLT stock, I'm looking to see TLT stock push up above $100. Make sure to hit that like and follow button. We'll see you in the next video.